Welcome to the Secrets We Keep podcast, where silence ends and healing begins. This podcast is for reflection and conversation. It's not therapy, diagnosis, or emergency support. If you are in immediate danger or need urgent help, please contact emergency services, a crisis line, or a trusted local resource. This episode discusses rejection, abandonment, emotional wounds, family pain, and the lasting impact those experiences can have on self worth and relationships. Please take care of yourself while listening. Pause if you need to, step away if you need to, and come back when you are ready. Sometimes the damage in our relationships does not begin in the relationship itself. Sometimes it begins much earlier. Sometimes it begins with rejection. Sometimes it begins with abandonment. Sometimes it begins with inconsistency. Sometimes it begins in childhood when the people who were supposed to make us feel safe instead leave us carrying questions about whether we were wanted, whether we were enough, and whether love is something we have to earn. That kind of wound does not always leave visible evidence, but it shapes things. It shapes how we see ourselves, it shapes what we tolerate, it shapes what feels normal in love, and often it follows us much further into life than we realize. For me, early rejection was very real. My father rejected me, as I shared with you in the previous episode. We lived in the same household, but I still remember him saying he wished I had never been born. As I said before, he did not hit me, but it still was not what love should have felt like. And sometimes people minimize that because there are no bruises to point to. But you know what? Words matter. Rejection matters. The absence of warmth matters. The absence of emotional safety matters. Living in the same house and some with someone and still feeling unwanted, that matters. That kind of rejection can follow you. It followed me into relationships. It followed me into how I saw myself. It followed me into what I accepted. It followed me into what I believed I was worth. And I think that is something many people do not want to admit out loud. Because this kind of honesty requires us to stop saying, I love myself and I would never let anyone hurt me, and instead ask harder questions. What did I learn about love when I was very young? What did rejection teach me about my value? How much of my adult life was shaped by wounds I never truly named? Those are not easy questions, but acknowledging them is often the very first step in healing. Now, as I got much older, it took me a long time to grow, to understand, and to forgive. And one thing I have come to understand is that people do not harm in a vacuum. My father had his own issues. He had his own traumas. He had his own rejection. He was rejected as a child, too. His mother did not keep him. His father took him, and he was raised by two very strict men. So when I look back, I do not only see what he did, I also see what shaped him. That does not erase the damage, but it does help explain the pattern because rejection is often generational. Pain echoes, wounds repeat. People can pass down what they never healed. And that is one of the hardest truths of all. Sometimes what hurt us did not start with the person who hurt us. Let me repeat that. Sometimes what hurt us did not start with a person who hurt us. Sometimes it was already moving through generations before it ever reached our life. That is why this conversation matters. Because a lot of people think they can just decide to be different and that will be enough. And, maybe for some people, it starts there. But often, stopping a generational pattern takes more than good intentions. It takes awareness, it takes honesty, and it takes help. It takes healing. It takes doing the work that previous generations either could not do or did not know how to do. That is one reason I believe in therapy so strongly. I believe in therapy because some wounds are too deep to keep pretending around. Some patterns are too old to break with willpower alone. Some pain needs language, support, understanding, and a safe place to be unpacked. Therapy does not make a person weak. It makes room for truth. It makes room for healing. It makes room for interpretation. It makes room for the generational echo to finally meet something different. And then there is abandonment. Now, abandonment is deep because it can take so many forms. A person can be physically abandoned, a person can be emotionally abandoned, a person can be mentally abandoned, a person can live in a house full of people and still feel completely alone. You can be abandoned by someone walking away. You can be abandoned by someone staying physically present but emotionally unavailable. You can be abandoned by inconsistency, by neglect, by silence, by not being seen, by not being protected, by not being chosen, by not being cared for in the ways you need it. And those experiences shape a person. They shape what you think love is supposed to feel like. They shape what you think you deserve. They shape whether peace feels safe or suspicious. They shape whether inconsistency feels normal. They shape whether you chase love, settle for crumbs, or confuse survival with commitment. For many people, love was taught as endurance. There was this mindset in older generations. They would say, "You made your bed, now lie in it." You stay, you endure, you keep going, you do not complain, you do not leave, you carry the burden and call it love. Also, they would also say, what goes on in this house stays in this house, right? So now you have those secrets that you have to keep, the lies you have to tell. Now, it is true that love is not always easy, marriage is not always easy. Any real relationship requires communication, compromise, patience, and growth. Two people come into a relationship with different thoughts, different expectations, different wounds, and different ways of seeing the world. But there's a difference between the natural work of healthy love and the emotional suffering people are told to endure in silence. That difference matters. Because if you grow up rejected, abandoned, and unsure of your worth, you may not know how to tell the difference between normal relationship challenges and a love that is draining the life out of you. If you grow up feeling unwanted, unloved, unworthy, unimportant, or unseen, that pain, that pain can shape the choices you make for years. It can shape the partners you choose. It can shape the spouses you stay with. It can shape the friendships you hold on to. It can shape the way you overgive, over explain, overcompensate, or accept less than you deserve. Because when self worth has already been wounded, people often build their lives around trying to soothe a pain they do not fully understand. They may seek love constantly. They may accept attention as proof of value. They may tolerate inconsistency because it feels familiar. They may stay places where they are barely loved because something in them still hopes to finally be chosen. That is not weakness. That, that, my friend, is a wound, and wounds deserve honesty. The truth is, Rejection can make you question your value. Abandonment can make you fear being left even when someone is hurting you. Inconsistency can make you chase love harder instead of stepping back from it. And all of that can shape what feels normal in relationships until unhealthy love does not even look unhealthy anymore. It just looks familiar. That is why self worth matters so much. Because when self worth is wounded early, it does not stay in childhood. It can show up in dating, it can show up in marriage, it can show up in friendship, it can show up in boundaries, it can show up in how you speak to yourself when no one else is around. And healing often begins with telling the truth. Yes, I was wounded early. Yes, rejection affected me. Yes, abandonment shaped me. Yes, inconsistency taught me things about love that I had to unlearn. Yes, some of my adult choices were connected to childhood pain. And yes, I can still heal. That honesty is not blame, it is clarity. Because the point is not to stay stuck in what happened. The point is to understand what happened well enough that it no longer gets quality to quietly run your life. I messed that up, so let me say it again. The point is to understand what happened well enough that it no longer gets to quietly run your life. That is what healing does. Healing helps you notice what once felt normal. Healing helps you challenge what once felt deserved. Healing helps you stop calling rejection your identity. Healing helps you stop calling abandonment your destiny. Healing helps you stop mistaking inconsistency for love. And maybe, most importantly, healing helps you begin to believe that what happened to you is not all you are. So, if you have ever felt unwanted, unseen, unworthy, or easy to leave, I want to say this clearly. What wounded you may have shaped you, but it does not get to define you forever. What wounded you may have shaped you, but it does not get to define you forever. I thought that was worth repeating twice, or worth repeating. Your story may include rejection. Your story may include abandonment. Your story may include inconsistency, but your story can also include healing. It can include truth. It can include help. It can include therapy. It can include boundaries. It can include choosing differently. It can include becoming someone who no longer builds a life around old wounds. And that, my friend, matters. Because when self worth has already been wounded, love can feel confusing. But healing can teach you something different. I just want you to think about some things. Did early rejection affect how you see yourself today? Did you grow up feeling truly wanted, emotionally safe, and consistently loved? Do you still carry beliefs that you are unworthy, unimportant, or easy to leave? And what part of your self worth still needs healing, honesty, or support? Thank you for spending this time with me today. This is the Secrets We Keep podcast, where silence ends and healing begins. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, tell yourself the truth, and remember, protect your peace, speak your truth, and keep choosing healing.